Hello, and thank you for your interest in the Madison Beltline Planning and Environment Linkages Study, or PEL for short. The Wisconsin DOT is investigating potential long-term solutions to address existing and anticipated future transportation issues on the Beltline corridor. The following recorded presentation provides a general summary of the PEL efforts completed to date and discusses the next steps moving forward. The study limits begin at US Highway 14 or University Avenue in the city of Middleton and extend approximately 20 miles south and east to the County Highway N interchange in the town of Cottage Grove. The Beltline study corridor carries more than 130,000 vehicles per day and includes 18 interchanges. The goal of the Beltline Pell study was developed early on in the process through collaboration with agencies, municipalities, and other stakeholders. The Beltline Pell seeks to improve safety and multimodal travel along and across the Madison Beltline corridor in a way that supports economic development, acknowledges community plans, contributes positively to the area's quality of life, and limits adverse environmental and social effects to the extent practicable. With input from agencies, local municipalities, and stakeholders, 12 Beltline Pell objectives were also developed. These objectives focus on improving safety, mobility, and accessibility for all modes of travel on, across, or near the Beltline. Here's an overview of the Pell study process. The first steps involved outreach and engagement. This included coordination with agencies, municipalities, and stakeholders to develop the study goal and objectives, create screening criteria, and identify potential improvements for the Beltline. Using the feedback received, numerous improvement concepts were developed throughout the corridor for multiple transportation modes, including motor vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, and transit. These concepts are called components. After the public involvement meetings held in April 2022, the study team, again with input from agencies, municipalities, and stakeholders, worked to evaluate and prioritize the components that were developed and combine them into a range of potential long-term solutions called strategy packages. The strategy packages were presented at the June 2023 public involvement meetings. At this point, the study team has developed a draft preferred strategy package. The preferred strategy package is what the study team would propose to carry forward for more detailed analysis in the environmental study phase, or NEPA phase, which is the next step after the Pell study is complete. The next few slides provide an overview of the strategy package development process. Please note that the section of the Beltline east of the interstate was not included in the development of the strategy packages. Several corridor needs for this section were addressed as part of the US Highway 12 and 18 and County Highway AB interchange project, and a US Highway 12 freeway conversion study has identified some spot improvements that could be made farther to the east if the need arose. The first step was to develop the improvement components throughout the corridor. They fall into 5 main categories. Mainline and interchange components. This category includes improvements such as adding travel lanes on the Beltline or improvements at interchange ramp intersections. Also included are improvements to weaving areas. Weaving areas are places where traffic entering the Beltline mixes with traffic wishing to exit at the next off-ramp. Roadway crossings and connection components. For example, constructing a new bridge over the Beltline. Pedestrian and bicycle components, such as constructing a new path to connect areas along or across the Beltline. Transit components, improving transit reliability along and across the Beltline. And finally, park and ride components, adding new park and ride lots near the Beltline. The components were then prioritized to determine how they would fit into the different strategy package options. The components were generally prioritized based on how well the component met the Pell study objectives, the feedback received during outreach efforts, the potential environmental and real estate impacts of the component, and how well the component improves accessibility to nearby jobs or destinations. Typically, the more times a component was considered a higher priority, the more times the component was included in one of the strategy packages. On the other hand, if a component was considered lower priority most often, it was included in fewer strategy packages, or it was possibly proposed for elimination within the Pell study. From there, several strategy packages were developed that combined individual components to meet the Pell study objectives throughout the corridor. They included different levels of improvement that range from a strategy package that keeps the Beltline as it is today, with only essential improvements and maintenance, labeled SP1 or the Preserve and Maintain package, to a strategy package that does everything needed to allow the Beltline to operate the best possible while offering the highest level of mobility and accessibility to all modes of travel, labeled SP4. Each of the strategy packages, other than SP1, the Preserve and Maintain, builds on the previous strategy package. Strategy Package 2 includes only the higher priority components that were identified based on the screening criteria. Strategy Package 3 builds on Strategy Package 2 by including the mid-priority components as well as the high-priority components. Strategy Package 4 includes all of the Strategy Package 3 components while also adding the remaining components that showed promise. After presenting and getting feedback on the strategy packages at the previous public involvement meetings, as well as completing additional outreach and analysis, a draft preferred strategy package has been identified for the corridor. The draft preferred strategy package includes improvement components that the study team feels should be carried forward and evaluated in more detail during future NEPA studies, and isn't necessarily what would be proposed for future construction. Some components may change or be eliminated from further consideration during NEPA as the alternatives, impacts, and costs are developed in more detail and additional feedback is received. Two main factors guided the identification of the draft preferred strategy package. The first was the stakeholder feedback received during previous outreach efforts. The main themes that were heard include to focus on multimodal components. Adding additional mainline or general purpose lanes on the Beltline was generally not favored throughout the corridor, particularly in the area east of Verona Road where the flex lane is. However, an extension of a flex lane west of Verona Road was generally acceptable. And in general, people agreed with how the components were prioritized and placed into the strategy packages. The second factor was how well the packages addressed the Pell goal and objectives. As an example, adding additional general purpose lanes to the Beltline mainline was not something the majority of people supported. However, the addition of a general purpose lane in each direction between Verona Road and the interstate is anticipated to provide substantial operational benefits that will help address many of the Pell operational objectives. For that reason, it is proposed to be evaluated further. Strategy Package 4 was used as a basis for the preferred strategy package because it includes all of the viable components, but modifications were made from there based on the factors listed above. Now the components included in the draft preferred strategy package will be discussed, starting with the mainline travel lanes. The section of the Beltline west of Verona Road, shown by the yellow line, includes two possible options, either extending the existing flex lane or adding one general purpose lane in each direction. The section of the Beltline between Verona Road and the interstate also includes two possible options, either keeping the same number of mainline lanes or potentially adding one general purpose lane in each direction, shown by the dashed red lines. For the section of the Beltline between Stoughton Road and the interstate, the existing flex lane would be extended to the interstate, shown by the brown lines. The draft preferred strategy package includes weaving improvements at several locations that will be shown by yellow circles on the map. As mentioned previously, weaving areas are places where the traffic entering the Beltline mixes with traffic wishing to exit at the next off-ramp. These areas often have safety concerns and are where freeway operations frequently break down. Locations include both mainline directions between Old Sauk Road and Mineral Point Road, between Whitney Way and Verona Road, between Fish Hatchery Road and Park Street, between John Nolan Drive and West Broadway, and between Monona Drive and Stoughton Road. The draft preferred strategy package proposes improvements at each interchange. Most locations are anticipated to be conventional expansion, such as adding turn lanes or through lanes at ramp intersections. These are shown with the darker blue circles on the map. Locations where more substantial changes are being considered are shown by the light blue circles. These locations include Gammon Road, Whitney Way, Verona Road, and Stoughton Road. The Stoughton Road interchange is currently being evaluated as part of a separate Wisconsin DOT study. Potential new roadway crossings included in the draft preferred strategy package would accommodate motor vehicles and bicycles and pedestrians. Locations will be shown by the brown arrows on the map and include west of Gammon Road, a crossing either east of Gammon Road or west of Whitney Way, shown by the dashed arrows, west of Park Street, and a crossing of US Highway 14 south of the Beltline. Pedestrian and bicycle accommodations proposed for more detailed evaluation will be shown in green. In addition to the accommodations that would be provided on the roadway crossings just described, additional locations include north of Old Sauk Road, south of Old Sauk Road, an extension of the West Town Path from Mineral Point Road to Gammon Road, a crossing of Whitney Way north of the Beltline, a connection from Whitney Way to the Southwest Commuter Path, a connection from Seminole Highway to the Cannonball Path, either north or south of the Beltline, shown by the dashed green arrows, a connection from West Broadway to the Upper Yahara Trail through the Capitol Springs Recreation Area, and a connection from Monona Drive to Stoughton Road and south to McFarland. Possible park and ride locations included in the draft preferred strategy package will be shown by purple circles. They include US Highway 14 or University Avenue at the Beltline, US Highway 151 or Verona Road at County Highway PD, Fish Hatchery Road at County Highway PD, and US Highway 14 at McCoy Road. A park and ride near Mineral Point Road and Junction Road was previously considered in the Pell study and is currently under construction as part of the East-West Bus Rapid Transit project. Finally, transit priority improvements are proposed at each interchange that currently has Metro Transit routes traveling through them. There are 9 total outlined by a purple hexagon, with the highest priority locations being where Bus Rapid Transit service is anticipated to travel through the interchange. These are at Mineral Point Road and Fish Hatchery Road. One option for transit priority being investigated would allow buses to pass cars lined up at traffic signals at or near the Beltline and would allow buses easier access through the intersections to improve on-time service. This map shows the draft preferred strategy package in total. As mentioned previously, these are potential improvements that the study team feels warrant further investigation during future NEPA studies. It is not a preferred construction alternative. It is anticipated that changes to the preferred strategy package could be made during the NEPA process as the alternatives, impacts, and costs are reviewed in more detail and additional feedback is received. As part of the Beltline Pell study, the study team investigated how the corridor could be broken up into different sections for future NEPA analysis and eventual construction to most efficiently address Beltline needs when they are anticipated to occur. Factors that influence timing of the NEPA studies include safety, traffic operations, and infrastructure needs in each section. Please note that the Beltline needs may change over time, so the proposed sections and timing may need to be adjusted accordingly if new issues or needs arise. No construction related to the Beltline Pell study is planned at this time. Based on the analysis completed in the Pell, the Beltline is proposed to be separated into 3 logical sections for future NEPA studies. These include the section of the corridor west of Verona Road from University Avenue to Whitney Way, shown in blue, could be proposed to move into a NEPA study in the mid to late 2020s based on safety and operational needs. In the Verona Road area, shown in green, the Wisconsin DOT is currently evaluating near-term options to help ease congestion at the Verona Road interchange due to rapid growth in the Verona area. Long-term, a NEPA study is warranted for the larger improvements identified in the Pell to fully address these issues. The timing of a long-term NEPA study will likely be dependent on whether the near-term options being investigated move forward and how effective they would be at addressing the congestion issues, but it is anticipated that a NEPA study for long-term improvements wouldn't begin until the 2030s. For the section of the corridor east of Verona Road, shown in orange, a NEPA analysis for long-term improvements corridor-wide is not expected to be needed for several years, likely sometime in the 2030s. The Beltline Flex Lane has addressed many operational issues, and the initial safety results are promising. The Wisconsin DOT will continue to monitor the Flex Lane performance to see if these trends continue. It is possible that spot improvements may be needed in some areas before completing a corridor-wide NEPA analysis. Moving on to the next steps for the Pell study. The feedback received from these public meetings will help determine what changes, if any, should be made to the draft preferred strategy package. Those updates would be made over the next few months, and then the results of the Beltline Pell study will be documented in the draft Pell summary report, which is anticipated to be completed and published on the study website for public review and comment in the late summer or early fall. The final Pell summary report is anticipated to be completed later in fall of 2024. This would complete the Madison Beltline Pell study. Please consider providing feedback regarding the study and the draft preferred strategy package. Your input can help determine what the long-term improvements for the Beltline will be. There is an online comment form you can fill out and submit on the public involvement page of the study website. There's also an online draft preferred strategy package that will allow you to provide feedback as well. Scan the QR code on the slide to access the survey or click on the online survey link on the public involvement page of the study website. You may also contact Wisconsin DOT Project Manager Jeff Behrens with any questions or comments you may have. Please provide all comments on the draft preferred strategy package by June 30th, 2024 to make sure your feedback is included in the determination of the final preferred strategy package. As mentioned previously, there will be an opportunity to provide feedback on the draft Pell summary report in the late summer, early fall of this year. In addition, opportunities to provide feedback on the potential long-term improvements for the Beltline corridor will continue during future NEPA studies. Thank you for viewing this presentation. If you would like to review the public involvement meeting exhibits, including the draft preferred strategy package that was just presented, you can find them on the public involvement page of the study website. The Wisconsin DOT appreciates your interest in the Beltline Pell study and looks forward to gathering your input as the study process continues forward.